Some stories are hidden, some are forgotten, and some were never meant to be discovered. Welcome to Shadow File. This video explores historical events, eyewitness claims, and theories. Some aspects remain disputed and should be viewed as speculation rather than established fact. What if an entire warship disappeared in front of hundreds of witnesses? And what if the government never revealed the truth? The most enduring legends of World War II, the U.S. Navy launched a top-secret project known as the Philadelphia Experiment. The goal, according to the story, was to use powerful electromagnetic fields to make the USS Eldridge invisible to enemy radar. But what allegedly happened next would become one of history's greatest mysteries. As engineers activated the massive generators, no one on board could have imagined the terrifying events that were about to unfold. As darkness fell over the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, an uneasy silence spread across the harbor. A powerful storm gathered overhead, while sailors watched in anticipation, unaware that they were about to witness one of history's most mysterious legends. As the generators surged to full power, massive electrical arcs surrounded the USS Eldridge. Witnesses claimed the air itself seemed to crackle with energy. The crew watched in disbelief, unaware that they were about to become part of one of history's most mysterious legends. According to the legend, when the USS Eldridge returned, many crew members appeared confused, physically exhausted, and deeply traumatized. Some reportedly struggled to explain what they had experienced, while military personnel quickly began questioning and examining the survivors. As the shock began to settle, officers gathered to reconstruct the events of that night. Every witness told a slightly different story. Some claimed the ship had vanished completely, while others believed they had traveled somewhere beyond ordinary understanding. But no one could explain what had truly happened. The crew struggled to describe what they had witnessed. Some insisted the ship had vanished into a strange green fog. Others claimed they had lost all sense of time. As confusion spread, commanding officers demanded answers, but every account only deepened the mystery. In the days that followed, the crew tried to return to normal life. But according to the legend, many sailors were never the same. Some reportedly suffered nightmares, memory loss, and overwhelming fear, while others refused to speak about what had happened that night. Life aboard the USS Eldridge appeared to continue as usual, but according to the legend, the crew carried more than supplies that night. They carried memories they could never explain. Some remained silent, while others claimed the events of the experiment would haunt them for the rest of their lives. In the aftermath of the alleged experiment, senior officers gathered behind closed doors. According to the legend, strict orders were issued: discuss nothing, record nothing, and reveal nothing. Whether those orders were ever real remains unknown, but the silence only fueled decades of speculation. Deep inside the USS Eldridge, the experimental generators roared to life. Massive coils unleashed violent bursts of green electrical energy as engineers rushed between control panels. Every gauge climbed into the danger zone. The crew had no idea that in just a few moments, they were about to cross a line no human had ever crossed. Then everything went wrong. The radar screens filled with static. Radio operators lost contact with nearby ships, and every signal suddenly disappeared. Panic spread across the control room as the crew realized the experiment was no longer under their control. Whatever had been activated was growing stronger by the second. As the lights flickered, an eerie silence swallowed the ship. Empty corridors echoed with distant footsteps, but no one could tell where they came from. Crew members began disappearing one by one, while others claimed they saw shadowy figures moving through the darkness. The USS Eldridge no longer felt like a Navy warship. It had become something far more terrifying. The crew quarters were supposed to be a place of rest, but that night sleep never came. The corridors echoed with silence, yet many sailors reported hearing footsteps, whispers, and doors opening on their own. Some claimed they saw shadows moving between the bunks. Others refused to enter these rooms ever again. By dawn, the USS Eldridge no longer felt like a warship. It felt haunted. Deep within the USS Eldridge, the heart of Project Rainbow awakened. Massive Tesla coils roared to life, flooding the chamber with impossible energy. The machine wasn't just generating power, it was tearing at the fabric of reality. Every surge pushed the experiment closer to a point of no return. October 28, 1943. At precisely 5:15 p.m., the impossible became reality. As Project Rainbow reached maximum power, a blinding green electromagnetic field engulfed the USS Eldridge. Witnesses claimed the destroyer vanished before their eyes, swallowed by an eerie emerald glow. In that terrifying moment, no one knew whether the ship had become invisible or had disappeared from reality itself. One exhausted sailor walked to the washroom, desperate to escape the chaos. But when he looked into the mirror, something was wrong. The reflection staring back wasn't moving exactly as he was. For a brief, horrifying second, it felt as if another version of himself was trapped behind the glass, silently watching. The crew rushed onto the deck and froze. The USS Eldridge was no longer just surrounded by electricity. It was disappearing. Wrapped inside a massive green field, the ship began to fade from reality. Sailors watched in disbelief as steel, smoke, and even the ocean around it seemed to dissolve. Then, in a single blinding flash, the USS Eldridge was gone. Then, it was over. The blinding green light vanished. The thunder grew silent. Where the USS Eldridge had stood just moments before, there was nothing. Only dark water, endless rain, and a glowing circle slowly fading into the sea. The crew could only stare in disbelief. Had the ship been destroyed, or had it disappeared into another place entirely? Days later, the U.S. Navy sealed every document connected to the mission. The experiment was labeled top secret, and witnesses were ordered never to speak about what they had seen. To this day, no official explanation has fully answered what happened aboard the USS Eldridge. Was it a failed military experiment, a journey through space and time, or simply one of history's greatest mysteries? The truth may still be hidden somewhere beyond the classified files. What do you think really happened aboard the USS Eldridge? Tell me your theory in the comments. And if you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries, there's much more waiting inside Shadowfile.